Let's see what I got. We're going to talk to Arlindo,
At least
who
they
is
got.
calling in.
That's why they got visuals, man.
That's right. The
You're all
visuals
right.
are there so that when words fail me, the
Yeah.
pictures can keep you entertained. We have Arlindo who's calling in from the UK. Arlindo, you're live on
Oh.
Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hi guys, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah,
Hey.
absolutely.
From a place of, yeah, hi, yeah, it's really late here. It's nearly 2 o'clock.
Yep.
Well, appreciate that you're watching the show. Really
Yep.
do.
I can
So what
attest to that.
what did you want to talk about exactly?
Yeah, I was just about to go to bed and then I just decided to call the show at the last minute. But
Nice.
yeah, I wanted to talk about critical race theory, and I'm coming from a place of skepticism. And everything I know about critical race theory, or my vague idea of it, probably comes from right-wing propaganda. It doesn't mean that I'm a right-winger, but I tend to try to listen to both sides of the political spectrum. In the spirit of Thomas Ferguson, and I really need to. I would like to hear your take on it because I've got this niggling doubt. I keep asking myself, isn't critical race theory the subject doing the opposite of what Martin
I can hear the last part.
Ooh, Arlindo, are you still there? I think you might have cut out a little bit.
Using
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
the
I'm
last
still here. I'm
the
still here.
there you go.
the last thing we heard you said what. Yeah, can you explain what your thought is about critical race theory again?
Yeah. Well, admittedly, I don't know much about critical race theory.
Okay.
The little I know is from, right-wing propaganda. I'm not
Okay.
a right-winger, by the way, but I tend to
Sure.
both sides. But yeah, are we doing the opposite of what Martin Luther King intended with critical race theory by focusing on skin color rather than judging people based on their character and actions?
Okay.
So that's
Arlindo,
yeah, go on.
we'll get into it. We'll get into it here. So here's the deal. Here's an interesting thing because you did admit, and I appreciate you saying this, that you don't know much about critical race theory,
No.
but you question its validity, and you're asking, well, isn't this go against what Martin Luther King Jr. is asking? Okay, but you do admit that maybe this is the result of right-wing propaganda, and you're absolutely right. It is the result of right-wing propaganda. You know how many people actually study critical race theory? It's a very, very small number of people. Here's what happens. Remember a couple years ago when Jordan Peterson was popping off, right? What was Jordan Peterson talking about? What was one of his most favorite things? Marxism and postmodernism. If you ask the average American to describe Marxism or to describe postmodernism, I guarantee you, like, maybe 1 in 10 will give like a real definition, right? The rest will probably are just going to give you something that they've heard. And that's what proponents who put these ideas out there are interested in doing. They really want to put these ideas into your head and say, okay, you should be scared of this phenomenon that's really difficult and hard to understand. And here I'm going to tell you why you should be scared of it, right? The same thing with postmodernism. Postmodernism is not even a coherent ideology within itself. It is like really a loose collection of themes that can describe anything from literary theory to architecture. Like it's very like wide ranging, and critical race theory is the exact same thing. Critical race theory, while its most notable contributions, I would say, or arguably its most not notable but most well-known contributions have been in legal studies, for the most part it is also a wide ranging set of ideas that come from different authors who believe in different things. In other words, there's no one coherent definition of critical race theory or one coherent set of principles that would be reflected across all critical race theorists' work. And people take advantage of that to say, well, I'm going to tell you what this is and why you should be afraid of it. There's, kindergartners are not learning about this, right? Like the Harvard law students are going to be maybe talking about it, but like for the most part, besides specific school curriculums that do talk about the history of like racial injustices, like it's not even a thing that people should be really worried
Right.
about. as
Right.
far as like, you know, upending the social norms or whatever. Like, I think that's what's so frustrating when talking about this, because yes, it is a complex and diverse subject matter, but it's also not just like one thing. It's several things that can, you know, be broken down into a wide variety of issues and topics. But anyway, Robert, would love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, CRT, like you said, it examines racism in the intersection with power, law, society, not just about individual biases, but systemic racism, social structures, institutions. And it aims to uncover and challenge the system of racism and things.
Just
Go ahead.
Yeah,
What'd
so
you say?
it's basically just about raising awareness, isn't it? Critical race theory is about raising
Yeah,
awareness of
absolutely.
what's going
That's it.
on,
You
and
can definitely you can say that.
One of the themes of critical race theory is that it examines the way in which U.S. law, in particular,
Yeah.
and also economic structures within the U.S. and class structures have affected the Black community.
Right.
And so, you know, obviously that takes a negative look at America, right?
Yeah.
Which is like against every right winger ideal. Like if you're a right winger, you want to say, "Oh, America's awesome and it's the best thing ever." You know, MAGA, right? Make America great again. We want to go back to what it used to be, which was when, you know, white people were in the dominant dominant power group, right? And so, like, yeah, that's what critical race theory does is does examine a lot of that in a negative light, in a critical lens. You know, like you don't even have to necessarily believe in some of the conclusions of particular scholars to know that, yeah, like America's a fucked up place and it's done
Yeah.
fucked up things to Black people. Like, I think that's like, that's what especially frustrates me with this. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, you know, it acknowledges things like housing discrimination, redlining, things like that. There was an article that I posted today that recently came out. Um, uh, it was about how they did a research about how was it 4 out of it was a large group, 40% or something like that. I don't have the article right in front of me, but anyway, they were about how many people had when it came to banking, excuse me, about getting banking loans and stuff like that. So I mean, it's talks about the historical legacy, structural inequality, impact on communities, housing policies, intersectionality, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of
and
ideas that,
you know,
yeah. Go ahead,
it's
Orlando.
a lot of ideas. You mentioned postmodernism, and it's
Right.
funny because right wingers like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, they make it sound like an entire generation has been brainwashed by philosophers like Foucault and Derrida, and basically, you know, they say, you know, that all meaning is being destroyed with this radical change from the, and you know, he's even published a book called Maps of Meaning, and then he brings his you know, his traditional ideas, and if people don't look deeply into this, they just get a very narrow postmodernism from people like Jordan Peterson.
Yes. If like the most
Your take.
Go ahead, Orlando. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just, because I've heard so much from the conservative side, I just really wanted to get your take on these ideas, because I don't think I've heard enough. And the last thing I want is to be deceived by propaganda. I just want the facts and the reasons why people are trying to change things towards progress. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to talk to a critic of postmodernism that has actually read like Derrida or Foucault or anybody, right? You know, like I, you know, as someone who actually had to read postmodern texts in college, get especially biffed at this stuff because it's like this stuff is dense and it's hard, and yeah, some of it doesn't even make any sense because there may be particular contexts in which a lot of the writing is put to. But that's the thing, right? It's such a complex and diverse set of ideas, some of which who say maybe have been, lived past its prime. Some people say postmodernism is dead and it doesn't even affect our cultures today. Now, interestingly enough,
Bell Hooks.
Yeah,
She's one as well.
Right. Interestingly enough, I do think there is a lot of political movements that we've seen worldwide, but in the U.S., that do have its roots in postmodernism. CRT is a result of postmodernism. Like, don't get me wrong, it is. Like it's part of that same sort of branch of ideological development because of its common themes, right? The people who are writing the first works for CRT were looking at postmodern literature, that was coming out at the time, right? Like there's a very big throw line and ideas of intersectionality and ideas
Identity.
of feminism, for example. Like a lot of like the developments we have today also come from postmodern theory, right? Genderqueer theory is also a result of like postmodern theory, right? So there's these big branching webs of ideas that you just have to sit down and read scholarly works for a long time to like really understand. It's not even something I can really capture or convey in a show like this. So how the hell can Ben Shapiro do it on his show in 10 minutes or Jordan Peterson, right? They really can't,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. I wouldn't expect you to. I know it's very fast topic, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate you asking about it, Orlando, because it is a big deal, right? Like how many people are using critical race theory as a wedge issue, particularly here, right? There's so many politicians that are saying like, look, we don't want this stuff taught to our kids. This is like kind of upending the social order. Because it does. Like critical race theory does challenge conceptual norms about America and its institutions. So people are afraid of that.
Yeah, that's right. The conservatives make it really alarming,
Yeah.
I think they're mostly afraid of change, like the
Absolutely. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But yeah, so folks at home who don't know anything about critical race theory, if you don't know anything about it, does that mean you should be afraid of it? Because the other people are telling you to be afraid of it? I don't think so.
It's kind of like how they're using the word woke now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Woke is like kind of pejorative, right?
We must be open to new ideas and progress. Yeah.
No.
Before you go, I'm going to ask you one question before I let you go. Have you guys ever seen a UFO?
I've seen unidentified flying objects. Yes. Do I think they're alien in origin? No, I don't think I've ever seen anything alien in origin. What do you think, Robert?
I haven't seen any UFOs, but no, I wouldn't believe that there's any aliens flying around and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't believe in that. No.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all we got, Orlando. We got to talk to some other folks, but thank you so much for calling in and calling in from the UK. That's a long distance, almost as far as Norway, right?
Yeah. It's not too far from me. Yeah.
So, any thoughts on that call, Robert? Any final words?
No, I think that was pretty good. That was postmodernism and CRT and UFOs. I like that.
I love it. I can't wait to read the comment section later. That's going to be